It has been 1 year since this whole thing started. Clank. Which is crazy to think about because I cannot stress to you enough how little I knew at the beginning of last year. I had never started a business before. At that time, we had only created one game together, Greg and I, one game together, and it was a game jam game made in 24 or 48 hours, and it wasn't great. Also, I had never made a YouTube video. Well, I did, but we're never going to talk about that. But I wasn't really good at this. And I kind of still not the best. I've learned a lot though, but like everyone, I had an idea. I had a passion. I had a vision of Soul Engine, an indie game studio that stood out from the rest. So many people have that vision. It only takes like 5 seconds to look on YouTube to see that's the case. And honestly, that's kind of where I lived for like 5-ish years. I had a vision, but no foundation to build it off of. And that kind of all changed when I came across a few channels on YouTube like Brackies and Thomas Brush. They made the steps to take so easy to see that it kind of became like, why should I not at least try this? And I really got to the point where I just needed to push. I had a vision, I had the plan. I'd never done this before, but I still had that. And then came my push, which was getting laid off from my job. Fantastic. And I thought to myself, is this it? Are we doing this thing? I want to preface this. I have a family. I have a wife and a son. At that time, I had one son. Now I have two. But I was the main bringer of money. I can't just make a decision to not bring in money anymore. But my wife did have a job, and she did have the opportunities to grow in that job. And so I really need to thank my wife in this for believing in me and taking a chance on my crazy ideas. So thank you, Jana. But I remember sitting in my now son's bedroom being like, all right, let's do this thing. And so with my trusty roadmap that I got from Thomas Brush and zero knowledge of how to do anything, I went for it. And so that's what we're talking about today. The crazy year of building a studio, an indie game studio with no experience and barely living to tell the tale. So our journey begins in January 2023. I have zero confidence, no experience in YouTube, very little experience in actually releasing games, and a lot of passion. Which passion can obviously take you a long way. But we did have a vision. We were going to create a game with that foundation from Thomas Brush's courses and build a game with it to sell, while creating devlogs about that all. Sounds great. Sounds like everything everybody else does. And it was going. Those first few months were kind of we're just going for it. I was releasing some videos about the game and kind of just experimenting with some other things while we were kind of making the game. And it was like that for probably January, February, and March. And at the end of March, you would hope that you would have a little bit of growth on YouTube and maybe even a tiny small prototype of a game, but we had none of that. I think we had maybe like 25 subscribers, or not even 25, it was like 10 subscribers. And the video quality, awful. You can go check those videos out. They're terrible. Don't go look, please. It's embarrassing. So YouTube was a disaster, and our game had really nothing to show for it. We had zero growth is what it seemed like. And when passion is kind of backing your motivation, you're probably going to run out of fuel. See, what you need to be really careful about is if a passion becomes a pillar of your identity, it can get pretty scary. Because your passions can get challenged. And when your passions are your identity gets challenged. And that becomes very scary. During this time, we found out that we were going to have another baby, which made things a lot heavier. There was all of a sudden this extra pressure to create something that was successful. And that was kind of a dark time. Those next few months, kind of like April, May, were really rough. Zero growth, zero to show for anything that I've done so far. It was not looking good. During this time on YouTube, I was kind of experimenting with different video formats. I kind of had a podcast thing where I was interviewing people and putting them on YouTube. They were doing awful, getting like 50 views, not great, not really growing the channel at all. So our YouTube front, not going well. Our game front, not going well. And I'm about to have a baby. All-time low as far as confidence goes. But that would all change when this happened.
This middle image does nothing for us. These look really crappy. I don't want to click on these. Come on, let's go. Speed it up. I'm already 23 seconds in and I'm bored.
This is the worst.
Yes, Thomas Brush kind of roasted my channel, which was fantastic. He kind of broke down what was wrong with my channel, which helped immensely. And this kind of single event kind of changed the trajectory of Soul Engine. Whereas I kind of viewed YouTube as a secondary part of this studio, it needed to become one of the standing pillars of the studio. And it needed to get more attention. And it kind of kicked my butt into overdrive as far as self-discipline and motivation, because this was my dream and it deserved that kind of motivation. It also changed how we were going about our game. Our game was so stagnant. It was not moving at all. We weren't even done with the first level. We were still building out some of the things. I was trying to follow Thomas Brush's course and everything, but something was just, there was a disconnect and I just couldn't figure it out. So we decided to put it on the side. We will come back to it, but it's on the side right now. And we decided to make jam games and flex that game dev muscle and learn. And it was the best decision we had made. We ended up making 7 more game jam games, and a few months later we had just an explosion in our YouTube channel. That makes it sound like we're probably like we have millions of subscribers. We only have like over 1,000 now, but it just goes to show that when you change your mindset to something more positive, it can send you down a different path. These direction shifts made it so that we were able to build a foundation of knowledge, really, and really build our confidence in ourselves and reminded us that we can do this, and we needed that so bad. We kind of went down a different path at that point, and I was not expecting it. I thought we were going to make games and get big on YouTube, and it was going to be honky-dory. No. Destiny had something different for us. But those different paths led to victories that I was not expecting. Really victories in how I viewed myself and how I can contribute best to the studio. I learned that what I loved doing, making games, was only one aspect of the whole process. That if you want to make games full-time for a living, you're going to have to flex way more muscles than just game development. And it seems like a no-brainer. Obviously, you're going to need to know more about game development to run a business. But I didn't know that. Like I said, I knew nothing at the start of this. But figuring out where you're good at doing things and what you can do as like second nature is key to kind of building success. Because if everything is a grind and everything is just slow because you might not have like that passion to do it, like I said, things are going to be slow. But if you allow others to help you, kind of like my previous video, if you allow others to help you do the things that you don't want to do or just not good at doing, you'll move forward way faster. And that's kind of what we decided to do. The second half of last year was a completely different tone of the first half. We were making games and we were making videos, and everything just had a better quality to them because we decided to do what we were passionate about within those different aspects. I don't know. But we decided to kind of focus on what we love to do. And that was make games and make videos. And we decided to just take the time to get good at it. And man, has it paid dividends. Giving ourselves the time to learn how we best move forward was such a good decision to make, because it allowed us to gain experience, and experience breeds opportunities like nothing else. Looking over this past year, if I had to boil it down to one takeaway, it would be that the little things that you create, they don't often feel like they're going to be significant. But if you continue to build those small things will become larger, and those larger things will be worth something. Like, again, my favorite quote, luck is only being ready for when the opportunities come your way. And when you have something to show for what you've done, that's an opportunity. This past year was crazy, and I am so grateful for all of its craziness. I hope this next year is just as crazy. I appreciate if you guys are still watching. We have so many cool things coming out this year, like such a cool Patreon idea that I hope you guys are gonna love. Some cool games. I'm so pumped for this next year. Guys, thank you so much for this opportunity that you have given me. Again, I can't wait to keep doing it. So, until next time, keep on deving and keep on chasing that dream. I'll see you guys later.